A little over a week ago, I released a video where I predicted the final seeding for all the teams in the Western Conference. Today we're doing the same exact thing but for the Eastern Conference. The East is filled with incredibly talented teams and it's going to come down to the wire, but in this video we'll see if I can accurately predict where each team will finish the regular season. Unsurprisingly, at 15, I have the Detroit Pistons. Although they are not in last place currently, I fully expect them to drop back into the last place spot by the end of the season. They have been just terrible since the 2009-2010 season and have only made the playoffs 2 times in the last 13 seasons. There's really no doubt that they will extend that to 14 after this season, as they have looked really bad, going 2-8 in their first 10 and 6-14 since. One of the key reasons I have them dropping back down to 15 is that Cade Cunningham is done for the year with a shin injury. Honestly, the best thing for them is to just not even try to win anymore and hope that that first overall pick falls to them. Victor Wembanyama could be very helpful and really get their rebuild up off the ground. Ahead of the Pistons, probably by a good margin, is the Orlando Magic. The upside for them, though, is they seem to have some crucial pieces to build around, like Paolo Banchero, who is pretty much guaranteed to win Rookie of the Year barring injury, as he's averaging 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists so far this year. Along with that, Franz Wagner and Bol Bol have been very solid despite what the team's record shows. They also started 2-8 in their first 10, but have been a very inconsistent group after that point. They were just recently on a 9-game losing streak, but out of nowhere, they have ripped off 4 straight. This young team is very fun to watch, and if they can find some consistency and add a piece or two, they could be out of the bottom 5 pretty soon. Finishing 13th, I have the Charlotte Hornets. To be honest, I really feel for them this season, as it has been one plagued so badly by injury. To begin the season, LaMelo missed a lot of games, and at the time of this recording, they have Gordon Hayward, Dennis Smith, Cody Barton, and Mark Williams all out. Although they are not star players, they're definitely players that are missed by the Hornets right now. They started 3-7 to begin the season and have really struggled through the rest of the season as well, going 4-14. They just need to prevent these losing streaks, as they have had 2 losing streaks of 6+ games. Gordon Hayward is supposed to be back soon, and with him and LaMelo both returning to play, I think they will pull themselves out of the 15 seed and up a few spots before the end of the regular season. Another team struggling with losing streaks is the Washington Wizards, and I have them finishing 12th. They actually did not start off too bad, going 4-6 through the first 10 and winning 4 straight right after that. Things have not gone well since that point though, as they are 7-12 after the first 10 and currently on an 8-game losing streak, only winning 1 of their last 12 games. I really can't see their team getting too much better as the season goes on, but I don't think they'll finish behind the 3 teams mentioned earlier. If the season continues this way, it might be time for the Wizards to deal Bradley Beal or Kyle Kuzma and blow the whole thing up. A full rebuild could be the best thing for this team and help them get back on track so they can return to the playoffs in a few years' time. The final team in the bottom 5 and just missing the play-in is the Chicago Bulls. This team has been really disappointing this year, given they had solid success last year and because of the talent on the roster. I really do not know what is wrong with this team up to this point, but it is very odd that they're struggling this much. They started off going 5-5 and after those first 10 have been wildly inconsistent. They are 6-11 since then and have had some really poor stretches, like losing to both the Thunder and the Magic in the span of 7 days. With Levine, DeRozan, and Vucevic, this team should really be better than this, and if they get hot like they did last year, they could absolutely outperform this prediction and finish up the pack in the Eastern Conference. So the 5 teams missing out on the playoffs and play-in order from worst to best are the Pistons, Magic, Hornets, Wizards, and Bulls. I'm pretty confident about most of these, but the one I am least confident about is definitely the Bulls. They're a pretty streaky team, and I feel like they could easily fly up the rankings. Most of these teams are in line for rebuild or already in one, so these could be the bottom of the conference teams for years to come. The first team just making their way into the play-in is the New York Knicks. They have nearly been the definition of average so far this season, going 5-5 in their first 10 and going 10-8 after that point. There's honestly not too much to say about the season so far, and I expect them to remain a middle of the pack team for most of the year. But I do think they will end up dropping down to the 10th seed come the end of the regular season. As usual with the Knicks though, they have high pressure on them, so if they start to get to the edge of missing the play-in, it is possible for them to end the season below this prediction. Playing the Knicks in the first play-in game, I have the Toronto Raptors. Similar to the Knicks, they have just been very average. They went 6-4 to begin the season, and since then have gone 7-11. The key for them to finish high up and get out of the struggles they're having now is Pascal Siakam. He has been on one all season, averaging 25, 8, and 7. The reason they were in a bit of a slide is because he wasn't playing because he was hurt. Having him back is absolutely massive for this team, and with him, Scottie, and Fred VanVleet all back in the lineup, they can definitely pull themselves out of it and secure a spot in the play-in or playoffs before the end of the regular season. The next team is off to a great start given how they were projected to do this season, and that is the Indiana Pacers. Led by Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner, the Pacers have a really solid team with a great future ahead of them. They started this season going 5-5 and have done exactly the same since, going 10-10 after the first 10 games. I expect them to keep up this play for pretty much the whole season, going 500 and staying put at the 8th seed for the rest of the season. However, with Tyrese having an incredible season and currently averaging more points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks per game than Steve Nash's MVP season, they can steal a few more games and work their way up the Eastern Conference. Up against the Pacers in the play-in game, I have the Miami Heat. Similar to the Clippers in the West, they are a very quiet team this season. The main reason they have been so quiet this season is because they have been stuck in the mid-pack in the Eastern Conference, along with many others. Just like the Pacers, Knicks, and Bulls, they too started the season 5-5. They picked it up very well after those first 10 though, going 12-9 and are currently on a 4-game win streak. I have not seen much of the Heat this season, but from looking at the stats, it looks like they need Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry to pick it up just slightly to help them continue to win games and hopefully push themselves firmly out of a play-in spot before the end of the regular season. They are my 4 play-in teams. In order from worst seed to best, the Knicks, Raptors, Pacers, Heat. I would have the Heat winning the 7 and 8 seed game simply because of the experience that roster has in big games. I think the Pacers would then go on to play the Raptors, who will beat the Knicks. I have the Raptors winning because they have one of the best crowd environments in the NBA, and that could play a huge role in a winner-takes-all game. The Raptors would then go on to beat the Pacers to grab the final spot in the playoffs. With the lack of experience the Pacers have, I can't see them winning, but their time will definitely come in the near future. Now we will move on to our final group, the 6 teams that will make the playoffs. First up is the Atlanta Hawks. They had one of the many moves this offseason picking up DeJounte Murray, and so far it seems to be working pretty well. The trio of Murray, Young, and Collins looks solid to start the season as they began the year 7-3. Following those first 10 games, it does not look quite as good going 8-12. They just had a pretty embarrassing loss to the Magic, and they need to start to turn things around pretty fast if they want to get out of the mid-pack. They have a couple easy ones the next week or so, followed by a brutal group of games against the Clippers, Warriors, Kings, Bucks, and Lakers. If they can get hot in those couple of easy games before going on that tough stretch, they could produce some upsets and push their way up the Eastern Conference. I'm predicting them to do that, and I think they will end as the best of the rest in the East because the next 5 teams are almost guaranteed to finish 1 through 5, barring any major setbacks. Our first team of those 5 is the Philadelphia 76ers. With James Harden out for over a month, I was kind of expecting them to struggle pretty badly, but they managed to stay in the upper half of the Eastern Conference. They got off to a little bit of a slow start going 4-6, but have looked much more like themselves for the last month going 12-6. Since Harden's return, they are 4-1 and currently are on a 4-game win streak. The 76ers have absurd depth outside of their stars and beaten Harden. They have Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, Montrezl Harrell, Matisse Thybulle, and more. As long as they stay healthy, I fully expect them to stay high up the Eastern Conference and could realistically finish even higher than this prediction. Coming in 4th, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Similar to the Pelicans, they are a team that could be a consistent threat in years to come due to how young they are. They started the season red hot going 8-2 and not much has changed since then as they have gotten 13-9. I expect them to remain high up the East but drop back down to the 4th seed by the end of the season. I definitely expect them to make some noise in the playoffs, but they could also end up disappointed because of the lack of playoff experience they have from their stars. Obviously Donovan Mitchell is an exception because he has played in many playoff games already, and if they want to do well in the playoffs, they will need him to lead this team. As mentioned earlier, they're a team of the future and I expect them to stay high up the Eastern Conference for many years to come. Up in 3rd, I have the Brooklyn Nets. They have actually been a relatively quiet team so far this season outside of the Kyrie Irving saga. Durant is having an absolutely insane season so far, averaging 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, while also having over 1.5 blocks per game. His high-level play, along with Kyrie returning back to his all-star form, has helped them pull back into the fight after beginning the season 4-6. They are currently on a 6-game winning streak and have gone a ridiculous 15-6 after their first 10. The Nets look like a real contender right now, and if they stay healthy, they could continue to climb. They play the teams I'm predicting to finish 2nd and 1st in the conference over the course of the next month, and if they knock both of them off, there could be a real chance that they move their way up into one of those final 2 spots come the end of the regular season. Just missing out on the 1 seed, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis is playing at an MVP level like he has for the last 5 seasons, and it continues to help his team fight for high spots in the conference. The only reason he's not the MVP favorite right now is because the best player in the team finishing first is having just as good, if not a better season so far. He led the Bucks to a 9-1 start, and that put them at the front of the East to begin the season. Things certainly have not gone downhill since then, but they have not been as good as the start of the season. They have gone 13-7 after the first 10 and dropped down to the 2 seed for a while, but are actually the 1 seed at the time of this recording. It is going to be a crazy battle for the 1 seed in the East between these top 2 teams, but unfortunately for the Bucks, I think they'll just miss out and finish the season 2nd. The team finishing just ahead of the Bucks and taking the top spot in the East is the Boston Celtics. Led by Jason Tatum, they have picked up right where they left off last season and led the Eastern Conference for most of the season so far. Tatum continues to prove himself as a top player, and Jaylen Brown continues to put up some incredible stats that are on par with all-star starters. They started the season 7-3, but have ripped off 2 win streaks of 5+ games over the course of the season. They have gone 15-6 after the first 10, and barring injury, will most likely remain the top spot throughout the rest of the regular season. One of the key reasons they have been at the top for most of the season is because when they lose, they rarely ever do it again the next game. Preventing getting on losing streaks is massive for confidence, and considering they have only lost 2 straight twice so far this season, it makes sense why they have remained the 1 or 2 seed for the entire season. Their game against the Bucks on Christmas could be one of the games of the season and pivotal for the race to the top. That being said, I fully expect them to jump the Bucks in the next few weeks, reclaim the 1 seed, and hold it for the rest of the season. So there are my entire Eastern Conference predictions. Missing the playoffs, I have the Pistons, Magic, Hornets, Wizards, and Bulls. Making the play-in are the Knicks, Raptors, Pacers, and Heat. And the 6 teams making it straight to the playoffs are the Hawks, Sixers, Cavs, Nets, Bucks, and Celtics. This one was pretty tough to predict because the teams are very close on record, but I want to hear your opinions. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you think I misplaced some teams you think should have been higher or lower in the conference. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, it is always appreciated. Be sure to subscribe if you want more content like this, and thank you so much for watching.